If you're stuck in a health spiral or sitting under fluorescent lights waiting for answers, this is for you. When healing felt impossible, hope stood me up. Acts 9:34 shows that Jesus meets us in paralysis and gives a doable step before the miracle feels possible. In the next few minutes, a true-to-life story, one verse that holds you up, and one small step you can do today. The clock reads 3:12 p.m. The second hand moves so slowly, it might as well be painted on. Antiseptic air coats the back of my throat. Metal chair cold through jeans. My name still uncalled. A magazine from 2019 lies face down on the table beside me. The slow suffocation of waiting when your body is already screaming. A silent prayer cracks into a whisper I don't understand yet. Rise and make. The words make no sense, but they're the only thing louder than fear. By the time we're done, you'll know what to do with the next 12 minutes, even if they feel endless. The waiting room is a kind of purgatory I never asked to understand. The fourth fluorescent tube flickers every 7 seconds, I've counted, and the receptionist's keyboard has a rhythm that sounds like accusation. Tap, tap, tap. Someone's getting helped. Tap, tap, tap. Someone's file is being opened, not mine. 3 chairs over, a man coughs into his elbow, and I wonder if I should move. But moving requires energy I don't have. And besides, what does it matter when my immune system is already a broken promise? The clock says 3:12 p.m. I glance down at my phone to check the time. 3:12 p.m. I look back up at the wall clock. Still 3:12. Time itself has thickened into something you could drown in. Maybe you know this waiting room. Not this exact one with its beige walls and its motivational poster about mountains that feels like a personal insult when you can barely walk to your car. But you know a waiting room. You know the peculiar terror of sitting in a place designed for answers when you're not sure you can survive the questions. You know what it's like when your body becomes a stranger, when the vessel you've lived in for decades suddenly starts speaking a language you don't understand. Pain in the mornings, tremors in the afternoon, exhaustion that no amount of sleep can touch. You know what it's like to become a medical file, a case number, a set of symptoms that don't quite add up to anything the doctors can name. The humiliation comes in layers. First, there's the clipboard. The boxes you have to check. The scale you have to step on while a stranger watches. The gown that doesn't close in the back. The questions you have to answer about your most private failures. How many times? How long? Have you tried? The way they write it all down like you're a specimen, like your suffering is data. Then there's the waiting itself, which is its own kind of violence. Waiting to be called, waiting for test results, waiting to see if this specialist has any answers the last 3 didn't. Waiting to find out if you're dying or if you're crazy or if you're dying and crazy, because at this point, both feel equally possible. I came here 3 hours ago. The appointment was at noon. I arrived early because I always arrive early to medical appointments now, as if punctuality might earn me favor with the universe, as if being a good patient might tip the scales toward healing. They called me back at 12:47, took my vitals, asked the same questions I've answered 17 times, then put me in this room and said the doctor would be right in. That was at 1:15. It's now 3:12, or it's been 3:12 for the last 40 minutes. I can't tell anymore. My body has become a betrayer. That's the only word for it. The same legs that used to run are now uncertain on stairs. The same hands that used to create are now shaky when I try to hold a pen. The same mind that used to be sharp now fogs over by mid-afternoon, thoughts scattering like birds startled off a wire. I've tried to explain it to people. To my boss, who looked at me with that particular brand of skepticism reserved for invisible illnesses. To my friends who said, "You look fine," with such conviction that I started to wonder if I was making it all up. To my family, who offered advice like, "Have you tried yoga?" And my cousin had something like that, and she just needed more vitamin D, and maybe it's stress. Have you thought about meditating? Yes. I've thought about meditating. I've thought about everything. I've tried the supplements that cost half my paycheck. I've cut out gluten and dairy and sugar and joy. I've downloaded the apps and read the books and watched the testimonies of people who healed themselves with green smoothies and positive thinking, and I've wondered what's wrong with me that I'm still here, still sick, still waiting for my name to be called in a room that smells like disinfectant and despair. The fear comes in waves. What if they find something? What if they find nothing? I don't know which terrifies me more. Finding something means a name, a diagnosis, a path forward. But it also means real, means serious, means the thing I've been afraid to say out loud. Finding nothing means I go home with the same broken body and no explanation, means more doctors, more tests, means the creeping suspicion that maybe everyone is right and I'm just weak, just dramatic, just not trying hard enough to be well. I've started bargaining with God. This is new for me. I used to pray with confidence, with expectation. Now I pray like I'm negotiating a hostage release. If you heal this, I'll go back to church every Sunday. If you just get me through today, I'll read my Bible more. If you give me one answer, just one, I'll stop complaining. I'll be grateful. I'll be good. The prayers feel thin, like air at high altitude. I'm not sure they're reaching anyone. I'm not sure anyone's listening. The shame is the worst part. Worse than the pain, worse than the exhaustion. The shame of needing help. The shame of not being strong enough to push through. The shame of cancelling plans, of calling in sick, of asking for accommodations. The shame of becoming someone people have to make allowances for, someone who requires patience, someone who is difficult. I used to be capable. I used to be the person others leaned on. Now I'm the one who needs a chair at parties, who has to leave early, who can't commit to anything because I don't know what my body will do from one day to the next. There's a loneliness to chronic suffering that I didn't anticipate. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone because no one can live inside your body with you. No one can feel the exact contours of your pain. No one can understand the specific exhaustion of waking up every single day and having to drag yourself into functionality when your whole system is screaming for rest. Even the people who love you, especially the people who love you, start to show signs of fatigue. You can see it in their eyes when you mention another symptom, another setback, the slight pause before they ask, "How are you feeling?" The way they've stopped asking for details because the details are always the same and always bad. The receptionist calls a name. Not mine. A woman stands, gathering her purse and her coat, and I watch her walk through the door to the back like she's crossing into another country. The door closes behind her with a pneumatic sigh. The clock still says 3:12. I wonder if it's broken. I wonder if time is broken. I wonder if I'm broken in a way that can't be fixed. I think about Aeneas sometimes. I don't know when I first read about him, probably in Sunday school, one of those stories that gets mentioned in passing and then forgotten. But lately, he's been on my mind. A man in the book of Acts. A man who spent 8 years in bed. Not by choice. Not because he was lazy or depressed or dramatic. Because his body wouldn't work. 8 years of staring at the ceiling. 8 years of needing other people to bring him water, bring him food, carry him to the bathroom. 8 years of being defined by his limitation, known by his paralysis. 8 years of being that guy, the one people whispered about, the one people prayed for and then forgot about when the prayers didn't seem to work. I wonder what that does to a person. Not the physical paralysis, that's obvious, but the soul paralysis, the slow erosion of hope. The way you start to accept that this is just who you are now, this is just how life is going to be. Did he stop praying after year 3? After year 5? Did he bargain with God the way I do? Did he make promises he couldn't keep? Did he wonder if he'd done something to deserve this? If God was punishing him? If he was supposed to learn some lesson he kept failing to understand? The Bible doesn't tell us what Aeneas thought. It doesn't give us his internal monologue, his fears, his 3 a.m. spiral into despair. All we know is that he was there, in bed, for 8 years. Stuck. And then one day, Peter showed up. I don't have Peter. I have this waiting room and this clock that won't move and this body that won't cooperate and this fear that sits on my chest like a physical weight. I have the memory of who I used to be and the reality of who I am now, and the gap between them feels unbridgeable. I have prayers that feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling. I have hope that's so thin I can see through it. Someone told me once that faith means trusting God even when you can't see the way forward. That sounds nice in a sermon. In a waiting room at 3:12 p.m., with test results delayed and your body staging a rebellion and the fluorescent lights humming their relentless mechanical hymn, faith feels like trying to hold water in your hands. It slips through, it evaporates. You're left with damp palms and nothing to drink. The door to the back opens. A nurse steps out. She scans the waiting room. My heart does something complicated, hope and dread braided together. She looks down at her clipboard, looks up, calls a different name. Not mine. The hope collapses. I'm still here. Still waiting. Still 3:12. I pull out my phone to distract myself, scroll through messages I've already read, check email I've already checked, open and close apps without purpose. Anything to make time move, to make this moment be over. There's a text from my sister from this morning. Praying for you today. Let me know what the doctor says. I haven't responded. What would I say? Still waiting. Still don't know. Still stuck. She means well. They all mean well. But their prayers feel like noise from another room, sounds I can hear but can't quite make out the words. I close my eyes. The antiseptic smell is stronger when I'm not looking at anything. I try to pray. The words come out fractured. God, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why this is taking so long. I don't know if you hear me. I don't know if you care. I need help. I need answers. I need something to change because I can't keep living like this. I can't keep waking up in this body that doesn't work. I can't keep being this person who everyone has to accommodate. I can't. And then, underneath the fluorescent hum, underneath the keyboard tapping, underneath my own frantic thoughts, something quiet, not audible exactly, more like a settling, a presence. And with it, words that aren't mine. I am here in the waiting. I open my eyes. The clock still says 3:12. The waiting room is still beige and cold and institutional. Nothing has changed. But something has shifted. The words echo in the space between my heartbeats. I am here in the waiting. Not I will be there when it's over. Not I'll show up when you get answers. I am here. Present tense. Current location. In the waiting. In the 3:12 that won't end. In the not knowing. In the fear and the fluorescent buzz and the body that hurts. Rise and make. The phrase that whispered through me when I first sat down. I still don't understand it. Rise and make what? I can barely rise from this chair. Make what? I can't even make sense of my own blood work. The words sit there, nonsensical, insistent, like they're waiting for me to catch up, like they know something I don't. There was a man named Aeneas, 8 years in bed. Not a parable, not a metaphor. A real man with a real body that wouldn't move. A man who probably knew waiting rooms in whatever form they took in the first century. A man who understood what it's like to be reduced to your limitation, to have your whole identity collapse into your illness. 8 years. That's longer than some marriages, longer than some careers, long enough to forget what hope feels like, long enough to accept that this is just life now. And Peter walked in. Walked right up to his bed, looked at him, this man who'd been stuck for 8 years, and said something that must have sounded absolutely insane. Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. Arise and make thy bed. Not Jesus Christ will try to help you. Not Jesus Christ is considering your case. Maketh thee whole. Present tense, active voice, certainty, and then the command, arise, before the feeling, before the evidence, before the body cooperates. Just arise. And then the small, strange, specific instruction, make thy bed. I don't know what Aeneas thought in that moment. If he wanted to laugh, if he wanted to cry, if he thought Peter was mocking him. How do you arise when you've been paralyzed for 8 years? How do you make a bed when you can't even make your legs work? But the text says it plainly, and he arose immediately. Immediately, not eventually, not after months of physical therapy. Immediately, the body that wouldn't work suddenly worked. The man who couldn't stand suddenly stood, and the first thing he did, the first thing Jesus told him to do, was make his bed. The smallest, most ordinary act. Proof that he wasn't dreaming. Proof that something had fundamentally shifted. The clock moves. 3:13. 1 minute forward. It feels like archaeology, digging through layers of despair to find one true thing underneath. I'm still in the waiting room. My name still hasn't been called. My body still hurts. But something about Aeneas' story has cracked open a door I didn't know was there. What if the miracle isn't always the body? What if sometimes the miracle is the moment you decide to move even when you can't feel your legs? What if arise is a command that works on the soul first, and the body follows? Sometimes immediately, sometimes in inches, sometimes in ways you can't predict or control. Rise and make, The words return. This time they don't sound quite so impossible. This time they sound like an invitation, not to fix everything, not to heal overnight, but to cooperate with something bigger than my fear. To take one step that says I am not paralyzed in every way. To make one bed, whatever that means, even if it's the smallest, most mundane act of faith. The nurse opens the door again, looks at her clipboard, looks up, says my name. Finally, after all this time, after 3:12, stretched into eternity, my name in this room full of people waiting for their names. I stand. My legs are uncertain, but they hold me. I gather my jacket and my phone and my fear, and I walk toward the door. Toward answers or no answers. Toward diagnosis or continued mystery. Toward whatever comes next. But I walk. And that, in this moment, in this body, in this waiting room at 3:13 p.m., is not nothing. The nurse leads me down a hallway that feels longer than it should be. Beige walls, framed prints of serene landscapes that no one ever looks at. The squeak of her shoes on linoleum. Room 7. She gestures me in, takes my blood pressure again. Elevated, she notes without expression, and says the doctor will be with me shortly. Shortly. That word has lost all meaning today. She closes the door. I'm alone again, but this time in a smaller box. Exam table covered in crinkly paper, sink in the corner. Diagram of the human body on the wall with all its systems labelled and colour-coded, as if understanding how it's supposed to work makes it any easier when it doesn't. I sit on the table. The paper crinkles beneath me. I notice I'm holding my breath and force myself to exhale. My hands are shaking. Could be anxiety. Could be the tremor that's been coming and going for months. I can't tell anymore. The line between symptom and fear has blurred until they're the same thing. I fold my hands in my lap to hide the shaking. Old habit. Pretend you're fine until you are. Except I've been pretending for so long I've forgotten what fine actually feels like. There's a numbness that sets in when you've been sick long enough. Not physical numbness, I wish it were that. Emotional anesthesia. A protective layer that grows over your heart when hope keeps getting deferred and disappointment becomes routine. At first, every doctor's appointment carried the possibility of breakthrough. This specialist would figure it out. This test would show something. This treatment would work. But after months of nothing definitive, nothing that helps, you stop hoping so hard. You lower your expectations. You armor yourself against the next disappointment. It's safer that way. Hurts less. Until one day you realize the armor has become so thick you can't feel anything anymore. Not hope, not even despair. Just a flat, grey endurance. Just getting through. I trace back through the timeline, trying to find the moment it all started, the place where my body began its betrayal. Was it 2 years ago when I first noticed the fatigue that didn't respond to sleep? Or 3 years ago when I started having those dizzy spells I chalked up to stress? Maybe further back, childhood allergies that were never quite managed, teenage mono that knocked me out for months, the way I always seemed to catch everything going around. Maybe I was never as healthy as I thought. Maybe this has been building for decades and I just didn't see the pattern until the structure started to collapse. I remember being 10 years old, running through the backyard with my cousins until the lightning bugs came out, running until my lungs burned in that good way, that I'm alive and my body works way. I remember being 25, hiking 6 miles to a waterfall, the ache in my muscles the next day a badge of honor. I remember being 32, dancing at my best friend's wedding, heels kicked off by midnight, laughing so hard my stomach hurt. When did that person disappear? When did I become someone who has to plan her energy like a budget, who has to choose between showering and cooking dinner because she doesn't have strength for both? The losses pile up. Not dramatic losses. No one died, nothing burned down. Just the slow erosion of a life. Activities stopped. The running group I loved, the volunteer work that gave me purpose, the spontaneous trips with friends. Dreams deferred, the career advancement I was working toward before brain fog made complex tasks impossible, the family I wanted to start before my body became too unstable, the version of myself I was becoming before illness froze me mid-transformation. Relationships strained. The friends who stopped inviting me because I cancelled too often. The family members who got tired of hearing about my health. the distance that grows between you and everyone who still gets to be well. And underneath it all, the questions I'm afraid to ask out loud. Did I do this to myself? Did I work too hard, push too far, ignore the warning signs until my body had no choice but to shut down? Is this punishment? Is this some kind of cosmic consequence for pride or ambition, or not taking care of myself? The rational part of my brain knows that's not how illness works. But the irrational part, the part that surfaces at 3 a.m. when I can't sleep because of pain or anxiety or both, that part whispers, maybe you deserve this, and I'm too tired to argue. I think about Aeneas again, his bed. 8 years of staring at the same ceiling, the same walls. 8 years of being carried to and from, of depending on others for everything, of having your whole existence reduced to one piece of furniture. The text doesn't say if he was wealthy or poor, if he had family or was alone, if people visited regularly or if he was forgotten. All we know is the bed, the paralysis, the years. And then Peter. Peter traveling through the region, coming to Lydda, finding the believers there. And among them, Aeneas. Did someone tell Peter about him? Did Peter ask who needs healing? And everyone pointed to the same house? The Bible doesn't say. It just says Peter came to him, came to the man who'd been stuck for 8 years, looked at him in his bed, that bed that had become his whole world, that symbol of chronic stuckness, of a life reduced to horizontal, of hope ground down to routine, and spoke. And Peter said unto him, Aeneas, Jesus Christ maketh thee whole, arise and make thy bed. And he arose immediately. I've read that verse a dozen times in the last few weeks. Each time it hits differently. Today, in this exam room, what strikes me is the parallel. His bed, my medical chair, his 8 years, my ongoing months turning into years, his paralysis, my inability to move forward, to get better, to find answers. Different centuries, same despair. The feeling that your body has become a prison you can't escape. The feeling that time is passing but you're stuck in place. The feeling that everyone else gets to live while you just survive. But there's something else in the verse I keep circling back to. The certainty of it. Not Jesus Christ will try to help you, or Jesus Christ might heal you if you have enough faith. Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. Maketh, present tense, active voice, like it's already done even as it's being spoken, like the speaking and the doing are the same thing, like wholeness isn't a possibility Peter is hoping for. It's a reality he's declaring. And then the command, arise and make thy bed. Before Aeneas could feel his legs, before he had evidence that anything had changed, before his body confirmed what Peter's words promised, Peter told him to arise, to do the thing that had been impossible for 8 years, and then, and this is the part that gets me, Peter told him to make his bed, not run a marathon, not prove to the world he was healed, just make the bed, the smallest, most domestic, most ordinary act, the thing you do when you're well, the thing that says, I am capable of taking care of myself today. A knock on the door. The doctor enters, a woman I've never met before, part of a rotation of specialists I'm working through. She introduces herself, shakes my hand, sits on the rolling stool, pulls up my chart on the computer. I watch her face as she scrolls through the notes from previous appointments, the test results, the referrals. She's good at keeping her expression neutral, professional, but I've learned to read the micro-expressions, the slight furrow between her eyebrows, the way she clicks through screens a little faster, as if speed will help her find something her colleagues missed. She asks me the questions. How long have the symptoms been present? What makes them better or worse? Have I noticed any patterns? I answer in the flat, practiced way I've developed, emotional distance from my own suffering, presenting my body like it's a case study I'm only mildly interested in. She examines me, listens to my heart, my lungs, checks my reflexes, presses on my abdomen, asks me to stand, walk, turn. I perform each task, aware of how my body moves, hyper-conscious of every tremor, every moment of unsteadiness. When the exam is done, she sits back down, looks at the screen again, then at me. I can see something is clearly going on, she says. But I'll be honest, I'm not seeing anything in the tests that explains the full scope of what you're experiencing. The words land with familiar weight. It's not that she doesn't believe me. It's that the evidence doesn't match the symptoms, which means more tests, more referrals, more waiting. She's kind about it, offers some interim treatments, some management strategies, refers me to another specialist, neurologist this time, tells me not to give up, that sometimes these things take time to figure out. I nod. Thank her. Take the referral slip and the prescription she hands me. She leaves. I sit there on the crinkly paper, holding these small squares of paper that represent months more of this. More waiting rooms. More 3:12 p.m. moments frozen in time. More hoping and not hoping at the same time. But something is different now. Something shifted back in that waiting room, and it's still shifting. A quiet voice underneath the disappointment, underneath the fear, underneath the exhaustion. I do not despise your small strength. The words settle into my chest. Not audible, not dramatic, just there, real. I do not despise your small strength. The strength it took to get out of bed this morning. The strength it took to drive here, to sit in that waiting room for hours, to answer the questions one more time, to hope and not hope simultaneously. The strength it takes to keep breathing when your body hurts, to keep trying when nothing has worked, to keep showing up when you'd rather disappear. Small strength, but strength nonetheless, and God doesn't despise it. I think about divine fingerprints. The moments over the last months that I've dismissed as coincidence but maybe weren't. The friend who texted exactly when I was at my lowest, saying thinking of you with no way of knowing how much I needed it. The morning I opened my Bible at random and landed on Psalm 34:18, "The Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit," and felt seen for the first time in weeks. The day my symptoms were bad enough that I almost drove off the road, but didn't, and later found out there'd been an accident on the route I would have taken. The doctor who actually listened when 3 others hadn't. The way this appointment finally happened after being rescheduled twice, landing on today when I needed it most, even if the answers weren't what I hoped for. Breadcrumbs. That's what they are. Evidence that I'm not alone in this, even when it feels like I am. Evidence that someone is paying attention, is present, is guiding even when I can't see the path. Not fixing everything, not making it easy, but present, near, attentive to my small strength. I slide off the exam table. Stand. My legs hold me, shaky, uncertain, but they hold me. I gather my things. Look at the diagram on the wall one more time. All those systems working together in perfect harmony when everything goes right. All those systems that can break down in 1,000 ways. My systems are broken somehow, the doctors haven't figured out how. But standing here, in this small room, after hours of waiting and disappointing news and chronic uncertainty, I feel something I haven't felt in months. Not hope, exactly. Not yet. But adjacent to hope. The possibility of hope. The memory of what hope feels like. And underneath it, that quiet voice again. Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. Present tense, not will, maketh. Like it's already true even when my body hasn't caught up yet. Like wholeness isn't about having a body that works perfectly, it's about being seen, known, held together by something bigger than my symptoms. I walk out of the exam room, down the hall, through the waiting room where other people are still sitting at 4:30 now. Their own 3:12 moments stretching into eternity. I push through the glass doors into late afternoon sun. The light is different out here, warmer. The air moves. I stand in the parking lot for a moment, just breathing. Car keys in my hand, referral slip in my pocket, body still hurting, answers still elusive, but something has cracked open. What is make thy bed for me today? Not heal myself, that's not in my power, not fix everything, that's impossible. But what's one doable thing, one small act that says I am not paralyzed in every way? I could fill the prescription, I could call the neurologist's office tomorrow, I could text my sister back, I could go home and rest without guilt. I could drink water. I could take my evening medications on time. I could open my Bible before bed instead of scrolling my phone until I'm numb. I could pray, even one sentence, even just help, instead of going silent. Small things, bed-making things. The ordinary acts of self-care that feel impossible when you're drowning, but are actually the very things that keep you afloat. Not because they heal you, but because they say, I am cooperating with life today. I am participating. I am making my bed. I get in my car, turn the key. The engine starts. I sit there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, forehead almost touching it, and I whisper into the space between me and God. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why this is taking so long, but I felt you back there, in the waiting. At 3:12, when time stopped, I felt you. So, teach me what arise means when my body won't. Teach me what make thy bed looks like today. I'm listening. I'm here. I'm trying. The clock on my dashboard reads 4:47 p.m. Time is moving again. I'm moving again. Not healed, but not frozen either. Aeneas got 8 years and then immediate. Maybe I get months turning into years and then gradual. Maybe my immediate is the decision to keep moving even when the body takes longer to follow. Maybe the miracle isn't always the body. Maybe sometimes the miracle is the moment you choose to make the bed anyway. I pull out of the parking lot. Head home. One small, faithful act after another. Rise and make. The drive home is muscle memory. Turn left out of the parking lot, merge onto the highway, take exit 14, wind through neighborhoods I've known for years. I could do this in my sleep. Maybe I am doing it in my sleep. The exhaustion has that quality now, that half-awake, liminal space where you're moving but not entirely present. But I'm aware of something else threading through the fatigue. That whisper from the exam room. Those words that landed in my chest like stones dropped in still water, still making ripples. I do not despise your small strength. The sentence repeats with every mile marker. I pull into my driveway. Sit in the car for a minute before going in. The house looks the same as it did this morning when I left, but I feel different. Not healed, not fixed, but less alone somehow. Like something invisible has shifted position, moved closer. I gather my things. Purse, phone, the prescription I'll need to fill tomorrow, the referral slip that represents more waiting, more hoping, more medical Russian roulette. I walk to the door, unlock it, step inside. The quiet hits me first. No one home. Just me and the hum of the refrigerator and the late afternoon light slanting through the living room windows. I drop everything on the kitchen counter. Stand there. The sink has 2 days of dishes I haven't had energy to wash. The mail is piled up, unopened. There's a thin film of dust on surfaces I used to keep clean. Evidence of a life that's been put on hold while I chase answers that keep evading me. Evidence of someone who is doing the best she can with what she has. And what she has isn't much right now. I should eat something, haven't eaten since breakfast, but the thought of preparing food feels mountainous. I open the fridge, stare at the contents without really seeing them. Leftover takeout from 3 days ago, that's probably bad now. Yogurt that expired last week, half a gallon of milk, some wilted vegetables in the crisper drawer, a fridge that tells the story of someone who has stopped taking care of herself because taking care of herself requires energy she doesn't have. I close the door, pour a glass of water instead, stand at the sink drinking it, looking out the window at my neighbor's yard where their kids are playing on a swing set. Squeals of delight. Bodies that work without thought. The luxury of not thinking about your body at all. I move to the couch, sit down. The weight of the day settles over me. 3 hours in that waiting room. The disappointing appointment. The referral to another specialist. The mounting medical bills I'll have to figure out how to pay. The job I'm barely holding on to because I've missed so much work. The friends I've stopped calling because I don't want to be the person who only talks about being sick. The future that was supposed to look one way and now looks like a question mark I'm terrified to examine too closely. This is when the lies usually come. The narratives that loop in my head when I'm too tired to fight them off. I can hear them gathering now, circling like vultures. Nothing will change. This is your life now. You are your diagnosis, or your lack of diagnosis. You are your limitations. You are the sick one, the broken one, the burden. The lies have voices that sound like concern, sound like realism, sound like they're just telling the truth. But underneath the reasonable tone, they're poison. Nothing will change. That's the first one. The big one. The lie that makes all the others possible. It whispers that this moment, this sick, tired, scared, waiting moment, is permanent. That you'll be sitting on this couch in 6 months, a year, 5 years, still hurting, still confused, still hoping for answers that never come. It points to Aeneas's 8 years and says, "See, that's your future. Stuck, frozen, waiting. It forgets the rest of the story. It forgets Peter, it forgets the arising. It just focuses on the bed, the paralysis, the years of nothing changing until you accept that nothing ever will. I am my diagnosis, that's the second lie, and it's subtle. Because on the surface, it sounds like acceptance, like being honest about your limitations, like acknowledging reality. But there's a difference between I have a condition and I am my condition. One is a fact. The other is identity collapse. And I've felt it happening over these months. The way sick has gone from a temporary state to a defining characteristic. The way conversations about me start with, she's not doing well, before they get to anything else about who I am. The way I've stopped introducing myself by my interests or my work or my dreams and started introducing myself by my symptoms. Hi, I'm the one who's always tired. I'm the one who can't commit to plans. I'm the one with the mystery illness. When did that become my name? Prayer doesn't work for people like me. This one is the cruelest because it masquerades as humility. It sounds like I'm not special enough, not faithful enough, not worthy enough for God to bother with. It looks at testimonies of healing, and there are so many splashed across social media, proclaimed from pulpits, and says that happens to other people, people with stronger faith, people who really believe, not you. It turns God into a cosmic vending machine that dispenses miracles to everyone except you. And when you ask why, the answer is always somehow your fault. You didn't pray hard enough. You didn't have enough faith. You didn't claim your healing with enough authority. Your theology was wrong. Your heart wasn't pure. You, always you. Never him. Never the possibility that healing is more complex than a formula, that God's ways are not our ways, that he might be present in suffering in ways we can't see yet. I feel the lies tightening around my throat like hands. This is the confrontation. This is the moment I either surrender to the narratives or I fight them with something true. I'm so tired of fighting, but I'm more tired of believing lies. I reach for my phone, open the Bible app, type in Acts 9. The passage loads. I read it slowly, out loud, letting the King James English fill the quiet room. And it came to pass, as Peter passed throughout all quarters, he came down also to the saints which dwelt at Lydda. And there he found a certain man named Aeneas, which had kept his bed 8 years, and was sick of the palsy. And Peter said unto him, Aeneas, Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. Arise, and make thy bed. And he arose immediately. Arise, and make thy bed. The command precedes the feeling. That's what hits me now, reading it in my own living room with dirty dishes in the sink and exhaustion in my bones. Peter didn't say, feel like arising, then arise. Didn't say, wait until you're sure you can do it, then try. Didn't say, let me know when you feel whole, and then we'll talk about getting up. He said, arise. Present imperative. Do it now. Not because you feel capable, not because you have evidence it will work, but because wholeness has been declared over you and now you cooperate with it. And then, make thy bed. The small, specific, doable thing. Not, go run a marathon to prove you're healed. Not, immediately resume the life you had before. Just make the bed. The ordinary act, the thing you do when you're functional, the thing that says I am participating in my own life today. I set the phone down. Look around my living room. What is my make thy bed right now, in this moment? The lies are still circling, still whispering. But underneath them, another voice. Quieter. Steadier. The voice that met me at 3:12 in the waiting room. The voice that said, I am here. I do not despise your small strength. And now that voice is saying something new. I bless your next faithful inch. Not my giant leap, not my complete transformation. My inch. The next small thing I can do right now that says I am cooperating with hope instead of surrendering to despair. I stand up from the couch. My body protests, stiff from sitting, tired from the day, aching in the usual places. But I stand. That's the first inch. I walk to the kitchen. That's the second. I fill the sink with hot, soapy water. That's the third. I wash one dish, then another. Not all of them. I don't have energy for all of them, but some of them. Enough of them. Each dish a small act of resistance against the lie that nothing will change. Because something is changing, I am changing it. one plate at a time. I dry my hands. Look at the prescription on the counter. I could ignore it. Could tell myself it won't help anyway. Nothing helps. Why bother? Or I could fill it tomorrow. Could cooperate with the possibility that this might be part of the path forward. Could take the medication as prescribed without shame, without feeling like taking medication means I've failed at healing naturally, without all the guilt I've been carrying about needing pharmaceutical help. I pick up the prescription, put it in my purse so I won't forget tomorrow. Another inch. I open my phone. Find my sister's text from this morning. Praying for you today. Let me know what the doctor says. I've been avoiding responding because I didn't want to tell her there were no answers. Didn't want to be the sick sister again. Didn't want to burden her with my ongoing medical saga. But that's the lie talking. I am my diagnosis. I am a burden. The truth is, I am her sister. I am loved. And love wants to know, wants to walk with me, wants to carry part of this weight. I type, no clear answers yet, but I'm okay. Felt God today in the waiting room. Thank you for praying. I hit send before I can second guess it. Another inch. The tears come then. Not sad tears exactly. Release tears. Relief tears. The tears of someone who's been holding tension for so long that even a little bit of letting go feels seismic. I cry, standing in my kitchen with clean dishes draining and my phone in my hand and the late sun warming the floor. I cry, and it feels like prayer. Like the most honest thing I've said to God in months. I'm here. I'm scared. I'm tired. But I'm trying. I'm doing the inches. Bless them. Please bless them. I think about what Peter said to Aeneas. Not just the command to arise, but the declaration before it. Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. Maketh. Present tense. Not future. Not conditional. Present. Active. Certain. Jesus Christ is making me whole right now, even when I can't see it, even when my body hasn't caught up, even when the doctors don't have answers. The wholeness isn't dependent on my feeling whole. It's dependent on Him, on His word, on His nature, on the fact that He is who He says He is, and He does what He says He'll do. This doesn't mean I wake up tomorrow healed. Doesn't mean the symptoms disappear. Doesn't mean the medical mystery suddenly solves itself. But it means something more foundational. I am not abandoned in this. I am not alone in the paralysis. I am not defined by my limitations. Jesus Christ is making me whole, maybe in body, maybe in soul, maybe in ways I can't measure with tests and scans, but making me whole nonetheless. And my job isn't to manufacture the wholeness. My job is to arise, to make the bed, to take the faithful inches. I walk to my bedroom, look at my actual bed, unmade from this morning when I was too anxious about the appointment to bother with it. The sheets tangled, pillows askew. The bed Aeneas was told to make after 8 years of being confined to it. The bed that became a symbol not of rest, but of imprisonment. The bed he made as his first act of freedom. I make mine now. Pull the sheets tight, fluff the pillows, smooth the comforter. It takes 3 minutes. Such a small thing. But standing here looking at it, the neat corners, the smoothed surface, I feel something shift. This isn't just housekeeping, this is obedience, this is cooperation. This is me saying I am not paralyzed in every way, I can do this one thing. And if I can do this one thing, maybe I can do the next thing. And maybe that's enough for today. Rise and make. The refrain that started as a question in the waiting room, that became a possibility in the exam room, is settling now into something like resolve. Not confidence. I don't feel confident. But resolve. Decision. The choice to act before I feel like it. To obey before I have evidence, to take the inch before I can see the mile. I sit on the edge of my made bed, pull out my phone again, open my notes app, write, Acts 9:34, today's inches, washed dishes, texted sister back, made prescription plan, made bed. God was here. I date it, archive the moment, build a cairn so tomorrow me will remember that today, me showed up, that today me took the inches, that today me chose truth over lies. The lies are still there. They don't disappear just because you wash some dishes and make your bed. Nothing will change. You are your illness. Prayer doesn't work for you. They're persistent, but they're not as loud now. Because there's another voice, the voice that has been steady underneath everything. I am here. I do not despise your small strength. I bless your next faithful inch. Arise, make thy bed. Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. I am not Aeneas. My 8 years might not be literal. My bed is not the same as his. My paralysis is different. But the God who spoke through Peter to a man in the 1st century is the same God speaking to me now, in my bedroom, with my made bed and my small faithful acts and my body that still hurts. The same God, the same power, the same certainty in his voice, maketh thee whole. The sun is setting now. The room fills with gold light. I lie back on my made bed, close my eyes, feel the exhaustion, but also something else. Something that might be peace, might be the beginning of trust, might be the first glimmer of hope after months in the dark. Rise and make. Not tomorrow, not when I feel better. Now. Today. In the body I have, with the strength I have, with the faith I can muster. Rise and make, and let God handle the wholeness part. That's his job. Mine is just the inches. I can do inches. I wake up the next morning and for exactly 3 seconds I forget. Forget the appointment yesterday. Forget the ongoing mystery of my body. Forget the fear and the waiting and the unanswered questions. For 3 seconds I'm just someone waking up in a made bed with morning light coming through the curtains. And then memory floods back and my body reminds me. The ache in my joints, the heaviness in my limbs, the familiar fog starting to settle over my thoughts. I'm still here, still sick, still waiting. But something is different. I lie there, staring at the ceiling, and I realize what it is. I'm not spiraling. Usually the mornings are the worst. Waking up to the reality of my limitations, the dread of facing another day in a body that doesn't cooperate, the immediate mental catalogue of everything that hurts. But this morning there's a space between the pain and the panic, a small space, just enough to breathe in, just enough to remember yesterday's inches, just enough to hear that quiet voice again. Arise. I don't want to arise. My body wants to stay horizontal, wants to pull the covers over my head and disappear into sleep where there are no symptoms, no doctor's appointments, no crushing awareness of how far I am from the person I used to be, but the word sits there, gentle and insistent. Not shouting, not demanding, just present. Arise. The same word Peter spoke to Aeneas. The same word that preceded the miracle. The word that asks for cooperation before evidence. I push back the covers, swing my legs over the side of the bed, sit up. The room tilts slightly. Vertigo, another fun symptom, and I wait for it to settle. Stand. My legs hold me, shaky, uncertain, but they hold me. I walk to the bathroom, brush my teeth, look at myself in the mirror. The woman looking back at me has dark circles under her eyes, skin that's too pale, hair that needs washing. She looks tired. She looks sick. But she's standing. She arose. That counts for something. I get dressed, not in real clothes. I don't have energy for real clothes. Soft pants, oversized sweatshirt, the uniform of someone who's given up trying to look put together. But I get dressed, another inch. I make my way to the kitchen. The clean dishes from last night are still in the drying rack. Evidence that yesterday happened. Evidence that I showed up, even in the smallest way. I put them away. Fill the kettle for tea. While the water heats, I pull out my phone and look at the note I wrote last night. Act 9:34. Today's inches. Washed dishes. Texted sister back. Made prescription plan. Made bed. God was here. God was here. Past tense, but also present tense. Because if he was here yesterday at 3:12 in the waiting room, and here last night in my kitchen, and here at dawn when I didn't even know it, then he's here now, in this kitchen, in this tired body, in this moment that feels so ordinary and so hard at the same time. The thought settles into my chest, not dramatic, not lightning bolt revelation, just quiet knowing. He's here. The kettle whistles. I pour water over a tea bag, watch the color bloom through the clear water, turning it amber. I wrap my hands around the mug, feel the warmth. This is a kind of prayer, I think. This standing in my kitchen, holding tea, choosing to be present in my own life instead of dissociating into despair. This is cooperation. This is make thy bed in a different form, not the literal bed, already made, but the metaphorical one. Making space for myself. making room for today, making the choice to participate. I drink the tea slowly, open my Bible app again, read Acts 9 again, but this time I keep reading past Aeneas. And all that dwelt at Lydda and Saron saw him and turned to the Lord. They saw him. Saw Aeneas walking around, making his bed, living his life in a body that had been paralyzed for 8 years. And seeing him, seeing the evidence of God's power, seeing the transformation, they turned to the Lord. His healing wasn't just for him. It was testimony. It was witness. It pointed beyond himself to something bigger. I think about that, about the possibility that my own wrestling with illness, my own faithful inches, my own choice to arise even when it's hard. Maybe that's not just for me either. Maybe someone is watching. Maybe my sister who's praying for me needs to see me take the inches. Maybe my friends who've stepped back need to see that faith doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means showing up in the mess. Maybe someone I don't even know will hear this story someday, and it will give them permission to take their own inches, to make their own bed, to arise in whatever paralysis they're stuck in. The thought is too big to hold on to. I set it down. Focus on what's in front of me. Today, this body, these next hours. I need to fill that prescription. Need to call the neurologist's office to schedule the appointment. Need to figure out if I can go to work today or if I need to call in again. The tasks pile up and I feel the familiar overwhelm starting to rise. Too much. Too hard. Can't do it. But then, I bless your next faithful inch. Not the whole day. Not all the tasks. Just the next inch. What's the next right thing? I can make that phone call. That's one thing. I can do one thing. I pick up my phone. Find the pharmacy number. Make the call. The prescription will be ready in an hour. Done. 1 inch. The relief is disproportionate to the task. I just made a phone call, something I used to do without thinking. But relief doesn't measure itself against the past. It exists in the present. And presently I did something. I took an inch. I sit down at my kitchen table with my tea and my phone and I do something I haven't done in weeks. I pray. Not the desperate bargaining prayers I've been throwing at the ceiling. Not the angry, why is this happening prayers or the please fix me prayers. Just honest conversation. Out loud, because there's no one here to hear me but God, and He already knows everything anyway. I don't understand what you're doing, I say to the empty kitchen. My voice sounds strange, rusty from disuse. I don't understand why my body is broken and why the doctors can't figure it out and why this is taking so long. I don't understand why you healed Aeneas immediately, but I'm still here, still hurting, still waiting. I want to believe you're making me whole. I want to believe that maketh is present tense for me too. But I'm scared. I'm scared this is forever. I'm scared I'll always be the sick one. I'm scared prayer doesn't actually work for people like me. The lies. I'm naming them now, dragging them into the light where they can be seen for what they are. Not truth, not reality, just fear dressed up in reasonable clothes. I take a breath. Continue. But yesterday, you met me. In that waiting room at 3:12 when time stopped, you met me. I felt it. I heard you. I am here in the waiting. And I want to trust that. I want to believe you're here now, that you don't despise my small strength, that you bless these stupid inches I'm taking, that arise doesn't mean feel like arising, it just means move. So I'm moving, I'm doing what I can do today, and I'm asking you to do what I can't. Make me whole, however that looks, in whatever timeline you have. I'm asking, I'm trusting, I'm trying. I stop, sit in the silence, wait. Not for an audible voice or a burning bush or a miraculous healing right here at my kitchen table, just wait. And in the waiting, something settles. A peace I can't manufacture, a presence I didn't summon but is here anyway. And with it, words that aren't mine. Be not afraid, only believe. Mark 5:36. I know it without looking it up. Jesus speaking to Jairus, whose daughter was dying. Speaking into fear. Speaking into impossible circumstances. Speaking the antidote to terror. Be not afraid, only believe. Not believe that everything will turn out exactly how you want. Not believe that healing comes on your timeline. Just believe. Trust. Keep the faith even when the evidence isn't in yet. Act on the belief even when you're still afraid. I am afraid. That hasn't changed. But I can still believe. Fear and faith aren't mutually exclusive. They can coexist. I can be terrified of what's happening to my body and still trust that God is present in it. I can grieve my limitations and still take the inches. I can acknowledge the pain and still make the bed. Both things can be true. I finish my tea. Stand up. Look at the clock. 9:47 a.m. In an hour I can pick up the prescription. Between now and then, I can call the neurologist. Or I can rest. Or I can take a shower. Or I can sit on the couch and do nothing. All of those are acceptable. All of those are inches in one direction or another. The point isn't to be productive. The point is to be present, to stay engaged with my life instead of checking out, to arise in whatever small way that means today. I choose the shower. It's been 2 days and I feel grimy. The shower is its own mountain when you're chronically fatigued. The standing, the heat, the energy it takes to wash your hair. But I choose it anyway. I take my time, let the hot water run over my shoulders, wash my hair, use the conditioner, shave my legs even though no one will see them. These small acts of caring for myself, these make thy bed moments. I'm not doing them because I feel good. I'm doing them because I'm choosing to cooperate with being alive, with being human, with having a body that, broken as it is, still deserves care. When I get out, I feel marginally better. Cleaner, at least. More human. I get dressed in actual clothes this time. Jeans, a soft sweater, put on moisturizer, a little makeup to cover the dark circles. I'm not doing this for anyone else. I'm doing it for me. For the me that exists underneath the sick person, the me that's still here, still present, still worthy of small kindnesses. I look at myself in the mirror again. The woman looking back still looks tired, still looks sick. But she also looks like someone who's trying, someone who showed up today, someone who took the inches even when it was hard. I think about Aeneas again. That moment after he arose, after he made his bed. Did he look in a mirror, or whatever they used in the 1st century, and marvel that he was standing? Did he touch his legs in wonder? Did he cry? Did he laugh? Did he immediately run out to tell everyone, or did he stand there, private in his miracle, just breathing in the reality of it? The text doesn't say, it just says he arose immediately, and that everyone saw him, and that they turned to the Lord. His personal transformation became public testimony, but there must have been a moment, even just a second, when it was just him and God, and the impossible made possible. When the years of paralysis met the instant of healing, and he had to reconcile those two realities. When he had to learn to trust his own legs again. When he had to believe that this was real, that it would last, that he wasn't going to collapse back into bed the moment Peter left. I'm in that in-between space. Not paralyzed anymore. I'm standing, moving, taking inches. But not fully healed either. Not sure this is real, that it will last, that I won't collapse back into bed the moment the crisis hits again. Somewhere between the lying down and the full arising. Somewhere in the middle of the miracle, when obedience has started but evidence is still catching up. My phone buzzes. Text from my sister. How are you feeling today? Thinking about you. I look at her words, feel the care in them. And instead of deflecting or minimizing or pretending, I tell her the truth. Tired, but trying. Taking small steps. Making my bed, literally and metaphorically. Thank you for walking this with me. She responds immediately. Proud of you. Small steps are still steps. Love you. Proud of me. For what? For taking a shower? For making a phone call? For getting out of bed? It feels absurd. But maybe that's the point. Maybe when you're in the valley, the small things are the big things. Maybe making your bed when you've been paralyzed for 8 years is just as miraculous as getting up in the first place. Maybe both are obedience. Maybe both matter. I grab my keys, drive to the pharmacy, pick up the prescription. The pharmacist gives me instructions I've heard before. Take with food, don't operate heavy machinery, call your doctor if side effects occur. I nod, take the bag, another inch. I drive home, put the medication in the cabinet with all the others I've tried. This one might not work either, or it might. I don't know, but I'm doing what I can do. I'm cooperating with the possibility of healing. That's all I have control over. Back home, I make lunch, scrambled eggs, toast, actual food. I eat sitting at the table instead of standing at the counter or curled on the couch. I eat slowly, taste the food, notice the texture, the warmth. This too is prayer. This too is arise. Staying present in my body instead of abandoning it, feeding it, caring for it. Not because it's cooperating with me, but because it's mine, and it deserves care regardless. After lunch, I sit on the couch with my Bible. Not the app this time, the actual book, the one my grandmother gave me years ago with my name embossed on the cover in gold. I open it to Acts 9 again, read the whole chapter this time, not just the Aeneas part. Saul on the road to Damascus, struck blind, transformed. Ananias sent to pray for him even though Ananias was afraid. The Lord said unto him, Go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel, for I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake. Chosen vessel. Great things he must suffer. The two ideas sitting right next to each other. Being chosen doesn't mean being spared. Sometimes it means being trusted with suffering. Sometimes the vessel is shaped through the breaking. I don't like that. I want the version where being faithful means being blessed with health and wealth and ease. But that's not the version Acts 9 offers. It offers transformation through crisis. Calling through difficulty. Purpose forged in the fire. What if my body's betrayal is also my shaping? What if these months of suffering aren't wasted time but formation? What if God is doing something in me through this that he couldn't do any other way? I don't want to believe that. It feels too hard, too costly, but I can't deny that something is shifting, that yesterday's waiting room and last night's dishes and this morning's shower and this moment right now, all of it is changing me, making me softer, more dependent, more aware of grace, less confident in my own strength, more desperate for his. I close the Bible, lie back on the couch, close my eyes, and I hear it again, that voice that's been steady underneath everything. Arise and make thy bed. But this time it comes with new understanding. Arising isn't just physical, it's spiritual. It's the soul standing up even when the body is still struggling. It's choosing truth over lies. It's taking the inches. It's believing before seeing. And making the bed isn't just housekeeping. It's establishing order in chaos. It's cooperating with normalcy even when nothing feels normal. It's saying I am still here, still participating, still alive in whatever small way I can manage. Rise and make. Not someday. Not when I'm healed. Now. Today. In this body. With this pain, in this uncertainty, rise and make. The afternoon passes. I rest. I call the neurologist's office and schedule the appointment, 6 weeks out, but at least it's scheduled. I text a friend I haven't talked to in weeks. I take my evening medications on time. I make dinner, just a simple pasta, nothing fancy, but I make it instead of ordering takeout. Each thing an inch, each thing a small cooperation with hope. Each thing a refusal to surrender to the lies that say nothing will change. I am my illness. Prayer doesn't work. By the time evening comes, I'm exhausted. The good kind and the hard kind mixed together. Exhausted from using energy I barely have, but also satisfied in a way I haven't been in months. I did today. I showed up. I took the inches. I arose, over and over, in small ways that probably look like nothing to anyone else but feel like mountains to me. I get ready for bed, brush my teeth, wash my face, pull on pajamas, and then I do the thing that started all of this. I make my bed, pull the sheets smooth, fluff the pillows, make it ready for sleeping, ready for tomorrow, ready for whatever comes next. This simple act that Peter told Aeneas to do first. This ordinary thing that became extraordinary through obedience. I climb into the made bed, turn off the light, lie in the dark. My body still hurts. The answers still haven't come. The future is still uncertain. But I'm different than I was yesterday. Something has been rewritten. Some lie has been exposed. Some truth has taken root. Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. I whisper it into the dark, not as question, not as hope, as fact, present tense, active voice, happening now whether I feel it or not. He is making me whole. The process has started. The command has been given. My job is just to keep arising, keep making the bed, keep taking the faithful inches. Rise and make. the refrain that's becoming my heartbeat, my liturgy, my way forward when there is no clear way. Rise and make, and trust the one who spoke it to finish what he started. I close my eyes. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges, its own chances to arise, its own beds to make. But tonight, I rest. In the made bed. In the taken inches. In the quiet knowing that I'm not doing this alone. God was here yesterday. God is here today. God will be here tomorrow. That's enough. That has to be enough. And maybe, just maybe, it is. The weeks that follow are not linear. I wish I could say that after that day, the waiting room, the made bed, the faithful inches, everything got easier. That my body started cooperating. That the symptoms lessened. That the doctors suddenly had answers. But healing, I'm learning, doesn't move in straight lines. It spirals, circles back, revisits the same territory from different angles. Some days I arise with relative ease. Other days the command feels impossible, and I lie in bed arguing with God about why I can't, why it's too hard, why he's asking too much. But something fundamental has shifted. Even on the hard days, even when I don't want to move, there's a different quality to the struggle. I'm not wrestling alone anymore. There's a presence in the wrestling, a voice in the paralysis. And slowly, so slowly I almost don't notice it happening, I'm learning to recognize God's preservation in places I thought he was absent. It's 3 weeks after that appointment when I start keeping a different kind of journal, not a symptom tracker. I have plenty of those, charts and graphs and notes about pain levels and energy fluctuations that I show to doctors who nod and order more tests. This journal is different. I call it my archaeology journal, though I don't tell anyone that because it sounds pretentious. But that's what it is. I'm digging through my own history, looking for divine fingerprints I missed the first time, looking for evidence that God has been preserving me all along, even when I thought I was abandoned. I start with the obvious ones, the friend who called at exactly the right moment, the Bible verse that appeared at exactly the right time. But then I go deeper. I write about the morning 2 months ago when my symptoms were so bad I almost drove off the road but didn't, and how I found out later there'd been an accident on the route I would have taken if I'd left 5 minutes earlier. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe divine traffic management. I write about the doctor who actually listened when 3 others dismissed me, and how getting her as my physician required a specific insurance change I'd made 6 months before for completely unrelated reasons. Random, perhaps, or perhaps set up. I write about my childhood. The anxious kid I was, always worried, always trying to control everything, always performing for approval. I write about the patterns I learned early: work harder, be perfect, never show weakness, never need help. I write about how those patterns served me for years, got me through school, built a career, made me look successful. And I write about how those same patterns were killing me, how the relentless self-sufficiency was unsustainable, how the terror of being seen as weak was forcing me to hide symptoms until they became critical, how I was so invested in being the capable one, the strong one, the one who helps others, that I'd forgotten how to receive help myself. What if this illness is breaking that pattern? What if my body's rebellion is actually a rescue? I write the questions knowing they sound absurd, knowing that chronic illness is not a gift, not something to be grateful for, not a divine intervention I should celebrate. But what if God is using even this? What if he's deconstructing the false self I built, the performance-based identity, the exhausting charade of having it all together? What if paralysis is teaching me something that health never could? I think about Aeneas differently now. 8 years in bed, 8 years of being completely dependent on others, 8 years of having every shred of self-sufficiency stripped away. What did that do to his soul? Did it make him bitter? Or did it make him soft? Did it kill him, or did it prepare him for something he couldn't see yet? The Bible doesn't say what happened to Aeneas after he arose. It doesn't tell us if he went back to whatever work he did before, if he got married, had kids, lived a long life. All we know is that he got up, made his bed, and everyone who saw him turned to the Lord. His transformation pointed beyond himself. His healing wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of testimony. I'm starting to understand that my healing, whatever form it takes, is also not the end. It's the middle, maybe even the beginning. The real story isn't sick person gets better. The real story is broken person learns to trust the one who holds broken things together. And that story is being written right now, in the waiting, in the not knowing, in the daily choice to arise even when arising is hard. 4 weeks after the appointment, I go back to church for the first time in months. I've been avoiding it, too tired to get there, too self-conscious about my limitations, too angry at the cheerful worship songs that feel disconnected from my reality. But this Sunday I go. I arrive late, slip into the back row, prepare to leave early if I need to. The worship starts and I stand because everyone's standing, but I'm not really singing, I'm just there, present, showing up, another inch. The pastor preaches about Peter, about how he walked on water until he looked at the waves and started to sink, about how Jesus didn't let him drown, reached out, caught him, said, "O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt?" The message is the usual one about keeping your eyes on Jesus, not on circumstances. I've heard it 100 times, but today something catches. Not the main point, a detail in the margins. Peter was already out of the boat when he started to sink. He'd already done the impossible thing, stepped out onto water, walked toward Jesus. The sinking came after the faith, not before it. And even in the sinking, Jesus was there, reaching, catching, not letting him drown. Peter's faith wavered, but Jesus' faithfulness didn't. Peter doubted, but Jesus didn't let go. I sit in the back pew and something cracks open in my chest. I've been so focused on my own wavering faith, my own doubt, my own inability to trust consistently. I've been berating myself for the days I don't arise easily, the moments I forget that Jesus maketh me whole, the times the lies feel more true than the promises. I've been treating faith like a performance I'm failing at. But what if faith isn't about my grip on God? What if it's about his grip on me? What if I'm already out of the boat? What if the fact that I'm still here, still trying, still taking the inches despite the waves? What if that's the faith that matters? Not perfect faith, not unwavering certainty. Just the faith to keep my eyes on Jesus even when I'm sinking. Just the faith to reach for his hand even when I'm terrified. Just the faith to believe he's reaching back. The tears come quiet and fast. I'm not a crier in public, but I can't stop them. They're not sad tears. They're recognition tears, relief tears. The tears of someone who's been trying so hard to be good enough, faithful enough, strong enough, and is just now realizing that's not what's being asked. What's being asked is simpler and harder. Just reach. Just let him catch you. Just trust that his grip is stronger than your doubt. After the service, I sit in my car in the parking lot. I don't want to go home yet. I pull out my phone, open my notes app, and I write, what if I've been preserved all along? What if every moment I thought I was alone, he was holding me up? What if the fact that I'm still here, still breathing, still trying, still believing even a little bit, is itself evidence of grace? I scroll back through my archaeology journal. Look at the fingerprints I've been collecting. The moments of divine coincidence. The narrow misses. The helps that appeared exactly when needed. The ways doors closed that seemed cruel at the time but redirected me toward better paths. The relationships that ended but made space for truer ones. The job I lost that freed me from a toxic environment I'd been too afraid to leave. The diagnosis that didn't come but kept me searching until I found a doctor who actually cared. And underneath it all, the steady preservation. The mornings I woke up when I didn't think I would. The moments I chose life when darkness was so thick I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. The times I took one more breath, made one more call, held on one more day. Not because I was strong, because he was holding me, because his grip never loosened even when mine did. I think about the valley of the shadow of death. Psalm 23. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. I've walked through that valley. Am walking through it still. The valley where your body betrays you and doctors have no answers and every day feels like a small death. But the valley is not abandonment. The valley is where the shepherd walks closest. The valley is where you learn to trust the rod and staff because you can't trust your own legs anymore. God has been here, all along. In the waiting room at 3:12. In the exam room with disappointing news. In my kitchen, washing dishes. In my bedroom, making the bed. In the shower when standing felt like climbing Everest. In the pharmacy parking lot. In the neurologist's office I still haven't gotten to yet. in every inch I've taken and every inch I've failed to take. He's been here, preserving, holding, sustaining, not fixing everything but not abandoning anything either. I start the car, but I don't drive yet. I need to sit with this, need to let it rearrange my understanding. I've been so focused on what God hasn't done, hasn't healed me immediately, hasn't given me answers, hasn't made this easy. I haven't been looking at what He has done, kept me breathing, kept me trying, kept me moving forward even when forward was 1 inch at a time, given me people who stayed, given me moments of peace in the chaos, given me His word at exactly the right times, given me Himself. Jesus Christ maketh thee whole, the verse that's become my anthem. I've been reading it as future promise. He will make me whole eventually. But what if it's present reality? What if He's making me whole right now, in ways I can't measure with medical tests? What if wholeness isn't about a body that works perfectly? What if it's about a soul that's being put back together, piece by piece, inch by inch, in the very breaking that feels like falling apart? What if I'm being made whole through this, not despite it? The thought is too big, too costly, too much to accept all at once. But it sits there, insistent. And with it, another whisper. I am not far. I am first. Not far, not distant, not watching from heaven while I struggle on earth. Near, present, first, before my pain, before my fear, before my doubt. First in line to meet me, first to reach for me, first to speak wholeness over me. I am not far, I am first. I pull out of the parking lot, drive home. The route is familiar, but today I see it differently. The trees lining the road that I've driven past 1,000 times without noticing. The sky that's the particular blue it only gets in late autumn. The way light falls through clouds in shafts that look almost solid. The world is still beautiful, even when I'm hurting. God is still here, even when I'm doubting. Life is still happening, even when I feel stuck. At home, I do the things. Make lunch, take medication, rest. But this time, the resting feels different. Not like giving up, like cooperation, like trusting that my body needs this, that God isn't disappointed in my limitations, that rest is its own kind of obedience. I lie on the couch with my archaeology journal and I write more. I write about my grandmother who died when I was 12, how she used to pray for me every night, and how I found her prayer journal after she passed and saw my name on every page, sometimes multiple times. How she'd been praying for my future, for my faith, for my strength long before I needed it. How maybe those prayers are still working. How maybe she saw something coming that I couldn't and was building scaffolding for me before the storm hit. I write about the Bible I'm holding, the one she gave me. How it's marked up with her notes in the margins, her favorite verses underlined, her prayers written in the flyleaves. How I never paid much attention to it before because I had my app, my digital access, my easy search functions. But now I reach for this physical book because it connects me to her, to a faith that weathered harder things than I'm facing, to a testimony that endured. I flip through it, find Acts 9, see that she underlined the Aeneas passage, in the margin, in her careful handwriting. Sometimes healing is immediate, sometimes it's a process. Either way, we arise. The date next to it is from 30 years ago. She was wrestling with something then, her own paralysis, her own waiting, and she chose to arise. And she wrote this note like a message in a bottle, like she knew someone would need it later, like she knew I would need it now. I cry again. Different tears this time, gratitude tears. I'm being held by a cloud of witnesses, my grandmother's prayers, my sister's texts, my friends who haven't given up on me, strangers in online support groups who understand this particular valley, and above all, beneath all, through all, God Himself. I'm not alone. I've never been alone, even when it felt like it, even when I couldn't sense Him. He was here, preserving, holding, keeping. The neurologist appointment finally comes. 6 weeks of waiting. I walk into another office, another waiting room, another 3:12 moment. But this time I'm different. I have my archaeology journal in my bag. I have Acts 9:34 written on a sticky note in my wallet. I have the refrain in my head. Rise and make. I'm still scared. Still hoping for answers. still desperately wanting someone to name what's wrong and fix it. But underneath the fear, there's foundation now. There's trust that even if this appointment yields nothing, I'm not alone in the nothing. Even if the doctor has no answers, God has not abandoned the questions. The neurologist is thorough, asks questions the others didn't, orders different tests, listens, really listens, when I describe what's happening. And at the end, she says something none of the others said. I believe you. Something is clearly going on. We're going to figure this out together. Together. Not I'll fix you. Not, this is probably nothing. Together. Partnership. Cooperation. I walk out with orders for more tests, but also with something I haven't had in months. Hope that's not attached to immediate results. Hope that's based on being seen, being believed, being accompanied. Hope that says, even if the answers take time, I have someone in my corner. And more than that, I have God in the waiting with me. I have His promise that He maketh me whole. I have the command to arise and the assurance that He's first, not far. I get in my car, sit there, and I pray out loud. Thank you for preserving me. Thank you for every moment I thought I was alone, but wasn't. Thank you for my grandmother's prayers. Thank you for this doctor who listens. Thank you for the inches. Thank you for being first, for being near, for being here. Keep making me whole. However that looks. In whatever timeline. I trust you. I'm trying to trust you. Teach me to trust you more. I drive home, and on the way I notice everything. The trees, the sky, the light, the fact that I'm driving, that my hands can grip the wheel, that my eyes can see the road, that I'm alive, that I'm here, that I'm still moving forward even when forward is slow. I notice the preservation, the sustaining, the grace that's been holding me up all along. That night, I make my bed with different hands. Grateful hands. Hands that are learning to receive instead of only give. Hands that are practicing the small obedience of making order in chaos. I smooth the sheets, fluff the pillows, and I whisper the refrain that's become my heartbeat. Rise and make. Rise and make. Not just a command anymore, a testimony, evidence of what God is doing in me, through me, despite me. I'm rising, maybe not in the body yet, but in the soul, definitely. I'm making, not perfection, but participation. I'm cooperating with the wholeness He's declaring over me. I'm taking the inches. I'm trusting the preservation. I'm believing that His grip is stronger than my doubt, and tomorrow I'll do it again. Arise, make the bed, take the inches. Trust the one who is first, who is near, who is making me whole, again and again. Until wholeness isn't something I'm waiting for. It's something I'm walking in, one faithful step at a time. 3 months after the diagnosis, I wake up on a Tuesday morning and something is different. Not in my body. The symptoms are still there, the medication's still necessary, the limitations still real. But something in me has shifted. I lie in bed for a moment before getting up and I realize I'm not dreading the day. Not excited exactly, just present, ready. The panic that used to greet me every morning, the immediate mental inventory of what hurts, what's wrong, what I can't do, is quieter now. Still there, but not drowning out everything else. I get up, make the bed. The ritual is so ingrained now I barely think about it. Smooth the sheets, fluff the pillows, create order. But this morning I pause after, stand looking at the made bed, and I remember. That first time, weeks after the waiting room, when making the bed felt like climbing Everest. When it was an act of sheer obedience with no feeling behind it. When I did it because Peter told Aeneas to, and I was desperate enough to try anything. Now it's just what I do. The miracle isn't that it's easy, it's that I do it anyway. The miracle is consistency, faithfulness, the accumulation of small obediences that have built something I can stand on. I move through my morning routine, shower, dress in real clothes. Not because I have anywhere to be, but because I'm learning that showing up for myself matters. Take my medications without the shame that used to accompany it. Eat breakfast sitting down, tasting the food. Small things, ordinary things, things that used to feel impossible that are now just life. Not effortless, but doable. And doable is enough. My phone buzzes. A text from someone I don't know well. A woman from church I talked to briefly a few weeks ago when I finally started attending regularly again. Her message says, "Hi, I hope this isn't weird, but you mentioned dealing with chronic health stuff, and I'm really struggling right now. My doctor just told me I might have an autoimmune condition and I'm terrified. Do you have time to talk?" I stare at the message, feel something click into place. This is what it's for, not just for me. The suffering wasn't just personal, it was preparation. The valley I've been walking through wasn't just mine to walk, it was terrain I needed to learn so I could guide someone else through it. My paralysis, my waiting, my slow learning to arise, it's become a map. And someone needs the map. I text back, "Not weird at all, I'd love to talk. Coffee this week?" She responds immediately with relief I recognize. "Yes, please. Thank you." I sit at my kitchen table with my tea and I think about Aeneas again. How the text says that after he was healed, all that dwelt at Lydda and Saron saw him and turned to the Lord. His healing pointed beyond himself. His transformation became testimony. His private miracle became public witness. Not because he was trying to make a spectacle, just because he was living his life, walking around, making beds, being present. And people noticed. People saw something different in him, something that made them think about God. What if that's happening now? What if the months I've spent learning to arise, learning to take inches, learning to trust God in the paralysis? What if that's visible to others in ways I can't see? What if my willingness to keep showing up at church even when it's hard, to be honest about struggling, to talk about God's presence in suffering instead of pretending I have it all together? What if that's testimony? What if someone watching me make my bed, metaphorically speaking, is learning they can make theirs? The thought is humbling and terrifying. I don't feel qualified to help anyone. I'm still figuring this out myself. Still have days when I don't want to arise. Still wrestle with fear and doubt and the temptation to believe lies about who I am. I'm not healed in the dramatic sense. I'm not on the other side of anything. I'm still in the middle of it. But maybe that's exactly why I can help. Maybe you don't need to be fully healed to point someone toward the healer. Maybe you don't need to have all the answers to share the one answer that matters. God is here. In the waiting, in the paralysis, in the valley. He's here, and he's making us whole, and we can trust him even when we can't see the full picture yet. I think about the woman who texted me. How terrified she must be. How alone she probably feels. How the word chronic feels like a life sentence when you first hear it. I remember being there. Remember the waiting room at 3:12. Remember the doctor's appointment where I got my diagnoses. Remember the nights I couldn't sleep because fear was so loud. Remember feeling like my body had betrayed me and God had abandoned me and nothing would ever be okay again, but I'm not there anymore. Not because everything is fixed, but because I've learned to live here, in this body, with these limitations, in this reality, and still find God, still find purpose, still find joy in small things, still arise. And if I can learn it, she can learn it. If God met me in my 3:12, he'll meet her in hers. If he taught me to make my bed one faithful inch at a time, he'll teach her too. I open my archaeology journal, flip to a blank page, start writing not for myself this time, but for her. The things I wish someone had told me at the beginning. The truths I had to learn the hard way. You are not your diagnosis. You are not defined by what your body can or can't do. You are seen, known, loved by God, and that doesn't change when your health does. Chronic doesn't mean hopeless. It means you're learning to live in a reality that requires daily surrender, daily trust, daily cooperation with grace. And that kind of living builds something in you that nothing else can. Small steps count. Rising when you don't feel like it counts. Taking your meds counts. Asking for help counts. Showing up even when you're tired counts. Every inch is sacred. Every obedience matters. God is not far, he's first. He's already in tomorrow, already in your fear, already in your body. You're not walking into the unknown, you're walking into his presence. Make your bed, literally and metaphorically. Do the one small thing you can do today, and tomorrow, do it again. The miracle is in the consistency. I write for 20 minutes, pour out everything I've learned. Not as advice, I'm not qualified for that, but as testimony, as witness, as someone who's walked this path and found it wasn't abandoned, found God in it, found herself in it, found purpose in it. When I'm done, I take a picture of the page. Not to send her, not yet, but to remember, to archive this moment when suffering stopped being just personal and became potential ministry. When my valley became a path someone else might need to walk. When my paralysis became preparation for helping someone else arise. The week unfolds. I meet her for coffee, sit across from her in a quiet corner of a cafe and watch her try not to cry as she talks about her symptoms, her fear, her sense that her whole life is falling apart. I listen, really listen. Don't try to fix or minimize or offer platitudes. Just sit with her in it. And when she finally stops talking and looks at me with desperate eyes and asks, "Does it get easier?" I tell her the truth. It gets different. Not necessarily easier, but you get stronger. You learn things about God you couldn't learn any other way. You learn things about yourself. You learn that you're more resilient than you knew and more dependent than you wanted to be, and somehow both of those things are okay. You learn to take life one day at a time, 1 inch at a time. You learn to make your bed. She looks confused. Make my bed? I smile, pull out my phone, open my Bible app, show her Acts 9:34. And Peter said unto him, Aeneas, Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. Arise, and make thy bed. And he arose immediately. This guy, I say, was paralyzed for 8 years. When Peter healed him, the first thing he was told to do was make his bed. Not run a marathon, not prove he was healed. Just do the small, ordinary thing. And I've been learning that's what faith looks like in chronic illness. You arise, even when you don't feel like it, even when your body fights you, and you make your bed. You do the next small, doable thing, and you do it again tomorrow. And the doing of it, the daily obedience, builds something, builds trust, builds endurance, builds testimony. Her eyes fill with tears. I don't know if I can. You can't, I tell her, not alone. But Jesus Christ maketh you whole. Present tense, right now, even before you feel it. He's already making you whole. Your job is just to cooperate. To arise when he says arise. To make the bed when he says make it. To take the inches he gives you. And he'll handle the rest. We talk for 2 hours. I share pieces of my story, not all of it. She's not ready for all of it, but enough. The waiting room, the diagnosis, the daily practice of arising, the way God met me in places I thought he was absent, the preservation I found when I looked back, the wholeness that has nothing to do with a body that works perfectly and everything to do with being held by perfect love. When we part ways, she hugs me, holds on tight, whispers, "Thank you. I thought I was going crazy. I thought I was alone." And I whisper back, "You're not. You're really not. God is with you. I'm with you. You can do this. 1 inch at a time." Driving home, I cry. Not sad tears, purpose tears, grateful tears. Tears of someone who's discovering that her pain wasn't wasted, that the valley she walked is still walking, is producing something. Someone else's hope, someone else's courage to arise, someone else's first faithful inch. This is what Aeneas must have felt after he got up, after he made his bed, after people saw him and turned to the Lord. The realization that his healing wasn't just about him, that his testimony mattered, that his willingness to arise when Peter spoke the command gave other people permission to believe God could speak into their paralysis too. I am still sick, still have diagnoses, still take medications, still have limitations, still have hard days. This hasn't changed. But I'm not the same person I was in that waiting room at 312. That person was drowning in isolation, convinced her suffering was unique, paralyzed not just physically but spiritually. This person knows she's part of something bigger. This person has learned to arise. This person is becoming a wounded healer, someone who can sit with others in their valleys because she knows the terrain, because she's learned where the water is, where the rest stops are, where God shows up. At home that night, I make dinner. Simple pasta again, but I make it with different hands, grateful hands, purposeful hands, hands that have learned they can do small things and small things matter. I eat slowly. Thank God for the food, for the day, for the strength to meet with her, for the privilege of sharing my story. Thank him for using even this, even chronic illness, even suffering, even limitation, for something beyond myself. After dinner, I sit on my couch with my Bible, not looking for anything specific, just sitting with it, letting it be present with me the way God has been present. I flip through, land in Isaiah. Chapter 41, verse 10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. I read it 3 times. Let each phrase sink in. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. He's been with me. Every moment, every waiting room, every diagnosis, every hard morning, every tearful night. With me. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God, not a distant deity. My God. Personal, present, committed. I will strengthen thee. He has, in ways I couldn't predict, through means I didn't want. But he has. I will help thee. He has. Through doctors who listened, medications that work, friends who stayed, strangers who became companions. I will uphold thee. He has. When I thought I was falling, when I thought I couldn't go on, when paralysis felt permanent, he held me, upheld me, kept me from collapsing completely. This is my testimony now, not that God healed me instantly, not that suffering disappeared, but that he was faithful, that he met me, that he taught me to arise, that he used my paralysis to prepare me to help someone else out of theirs. That he maketh me whole, is making me whole, will continue making me whole, in his time, in his way, for his purposes that are bigger than my comfort. I pull out my phone, text the woman from coffee, thinking of you tonight, praying for you. Remember, Jesus Christ maketh you whole. Present tense. It's already happening even if you can't feel it yet. Arise tomorrow, make your bed, take 1 inch, you can do this. She responds with a heart emoji and the words, thank you, I'm going to try. She's going to try. That's all any of us can do. Try, arise, make the bed, take the inch, trust the process, believe the promise, cooperate with the wholeness God is making. And somewhere in the trying, in the daily obedience, in the small faithful acts, transformation happens. Not always the transformation we expect or want, but transformation nonetheless. I get ready for bed, brush my teeth, wash my face, change into pajamas, stand in my bedroom doorway looking at my bed. And I remember again, that first time making it felt like an act of defiance against despair. Now it feels like an act of worship, like a prayer in motion, like cooperation with the God who told me to arise and is teaching me what arising looks like one day at a time. I make it one more time. Smooth the sheets with care. Fluff the pillows with intention. Create order in this small space as a reminder that even when my body is chaotic, even when my health is unpredictable, I can still participate in my own life. I can still do small things with love. I can still show up. Before I climb in, I stand there and I pray out loud, voice steady. Thank you for today. Thank you for the chance to help her. Thank you for using even my suffering for something beyond me. Thank you for teaching me to arise. Thank you for being first, for being near, for being here. Keep making me whole. Keep using me. Keep teaching me. I'm yours. This body, these limitations, this life, all yours. Do with it what you will. I trust you. Amen. I climb into bed, pull the covers up, feel the exhaustion of the day settling in, the good kind, the earned kind, the kind that comes from showing up and giving what you have and trusting God with the results. My body still hurts, still doesn't work right, still needs medications and management and daily accommodation. This hasn't changed. But I have changed. I am changing, being made whole from the inside out. Learning that identity isn't in ability, learning that purpose isn't in perfection, learning that testimony is just telling the truth about where you've been and who met you there, learning that wounded healers are the most effective because they know the wounds are real and the healing is possible and both can be true at the same time. I close my eyes, and as I'm drifting off to sleep, the refrain comes one more time. Not commanded now, not questioned, just settled. Stated. True. Rise and make. Rise and make. It's become my heartbeat, my rhythm, my way of being in the world. I rise, every morning in small ways, spiritually and physically. I make beds and choices and space for God and room for others and meaning out of suffering. And in the rising and making, I find I'm being found, being held, being made whole. Not someday, not when everything is fixed. Now, today, in this moment, in this body, with this testimony. Jesus Christ maketh me whole. Present tense, active voice, certainty, and I believe it. Finally, fully, deeply, I believe it. Tomorrow I'll arise again, make the bed again, take the inches again, and maybe help someone else learn to do the same. One faithful step at a time, one small obedience at a time, one made bed at a time, until rising becomes resurrection, until making becomes mission, until the valley becomes the testimony, until the paralysis becomes the very place God showed up strongest. This is my story, still being written, still unfolding, still in process, but no longer paralyzed, no longer alone, no longer hopeless, arising, making, trusting, living, whole. The weeks turn into months, the months into a rhythm. I keep meeting with the woman from church. Her name is Sarah, and she's become a friend, not just someone I'm helping. We text each other on hard mornings, arising today, and the response is always the same, arising, making the bed. It's become our code, our reminder, our liturgy shared between two people learning the same lesson in different bodies. She tells me one day, over coffee, that she started meeting with someone else. Another woman from church who just got diagnosed with lupus. I told her about Acts 9:34, Sarah says, about making the bed, about taking inches. I hope that was okay. I mean, it's your story, but it's not my story, I interrupt gently. It's God's story. He just let me live it for a while so I could pass it on. Of course it's okay. That's exactly what it's for. She cries a little. I never thought I'd be the person helping someone else. I'm still so new to this, still figuring it out. That's exactly what makes you the right person, I tell her. You remember what the beginning feels like. You know the terror. You know the questions. You're close enough to it to have empathy, far enough from it to have hope. That's the perfect position to help. And I realize, as I'm saying it, that I'm describing myself too. Still close enough to the waiting room at 3:12 to remember the paralysis. Far enough from it to know that arising is possible. Still in the middle of chronic illness, but no longer defined by it. Still learning, but able to teach. Still struggling, but also overcoming. Both things true at once. This is what sacred emergence looks like. Not being fully healed before you help others. Not having all the answers before you share what you know. Not waiting until you're qualified to offer your testimony. Just living your life, arising daily, making beds, taking inches, and letting people see it. Letting your ordinary faithfulness become extraordinary witness. I think about what this whole journey has taught me, not just about illness or suffering, but about God, about faith, about what it means to be human and broken and held at the same time. I've learned that paralysis meets promise, that Jesus doesn't wait for you to feel ready before he commands you to move, that he speaks a rise over you while you're still in bed, still stuck, still convinced you can't. And his speaking makes it possible. Not always immediately, not always in the way you expect, but possible. I've learned that small is sacred, that make thy bed isn't small to God, that your inch is his material, that faithful obedience in small things builds something you can stand on when big things come, that consistency matters more than intensity, that showing up daily, even when it's hard, even when it feels like nothing, is the very definition of faith. I've learned that obedience precedes feeling, that a rise comes before you feel like arising, that you move first and feelings follow, sometimes immediately, sometimes gradually, sometimes not at all. That faith isn't about feeling certain, it's about acting on truth even when you're terrified. I've learned that I am not my diagnosis, that my body's limitations don't define my identity, that I am named, addressed, loved, commanded, seen as whole even in brokenness, that Jesus Christ maketh me whole. present tense, regardless of what my medical records say. I've learned that God is first, not far, that He's already in tomorrow, already in my fear, already in the valley, that I'm never walking into the unknown. I'm walking into His presence, which has gone before me to prepare the way. These aren't theoretical lessons. They're lived truths, truths I had to learn in my body, in my kitchen, in my waiting rooms, in my made beds. Truths that only make sense when you've been paralyzed and heard the command to arise, when you've been stuck and been told to move, when you've been broken and been promised wholeness. And now, here's how to live these truths this week. Every time you feel stuck, whisper the refrain. Rise and make. Let it remind you that you're not paralyzed in every way, that you can do one thing, that one thing leads to the next. Every time you take an inch, thank God for it out loud. Don't wait for the mile. Don't despise the small step. Celebrate it. Archive it. Let it build your cairn of faithfulness. Every time you see 3:12, on a clock, a receipt, anywhere, remember, He is near in the endless minutes, in the waiting, in the frozen moments when time feels stuck. He's there, first, present, making you whole. It's Saturday morning, 6 months after that first appointment, when I wake up and realize today is different. Not because my symptoms are gone, they're not. Not because everything is fixed, it isn't. But because I'm awake in my life again, present, engaged, participating. I get up without the dread, make my bed without the internal argument about whether I have the energy. The ritual has become second nature. The obedience has become identity. I make coffee, sit at my kitchen table, open my archaeology journal and flip through the pages. Months of entries, months of fingerprints collected, months of learning to see God's preservation in places I thought He was absent. The journal is almost full now. Soon I'll need a new one. The thought makes me smile, because a full journal means time has passed, means I've survived, means there's been enough story to fill the pages. I turn to a blank page near the end, write today's date, and then I write, 6 months since diagnosis, still sick, still managing, still limited, but no longer paralyzed. I know how to arise now. I know how to make the bed. I know how to take the inches. I know God is first, not far. I know Jesus Christ maketh me whole, is making me whole, will continue making me whole. I know my suffering isn't wasted. I know my valley has purpose. I know I'm not alone. And I know, finally, fully, deeply, I know I'm held. I close the journal, stand up, walk to my bedroom, and I look at my bed, already made, smooth and neat, ready for tonight. This bed that's become altar, this small act that's become worship, this daily obedience that's become testimony. And I pray out loud the prayer I want to leave with anyone who's heard this story. Jesus Christ who maketh whole, you who spoke to Aeneas and speak to us now, speak arise over every person hearing this, over everyone stuck in their own paralysis, their own waiting room, their own 3:12 moment that won't end. Teach our hands to make the bed today, not tomorrow's bed, not next week's impossible task, just today's one faithful inch. Meet us in our fluorescent waiting, meet us in our bodies that hurt, meet us in our fear and our doubt and our exhaustion. We receive your command as gift, rise and make. We say yes even if our legs shake, even if we're scared, even if it's small, because you are first, because you are near, because you are making us whole right now, in this moment, in these bodies, in these circumstances. We trust you, help us keep trusting you, amen. I stand in my bedroom and I feel it, the full circle. From that waiting room 6 months ago, where time stopped at 3:12 and I didn't know if I could keep going, to here. This moment, this morning, this made bed, this life I'm learning to live in a body that's broken but held, this testimony that's still being written. Here's what I want you to take with you. Not just the story, not just the feeling, the actual tools, your phrase to carry. Small steps, strong savior. Write it on your mirror, set it as your phone background. Whisper it when you're overwhelmed. The steps are yours, small, doable, faithful. The Savior is His, strong, sufficient, steady. You bring the steps, He brings the strength. Your practice for the next 24 hours. 3 things. First, write Acts 9:34 on a sticky note and put it somewhere you'll see it. Your bathroom mirror, your car dashboard, your computer screen. Let it remind you. Jesus Christ maketh you whole. Present tense, right now. Second, complete one, make the bed action today. One small thing that says, I cooperate with hope. Make the literal bed. Take the medication, make the phone call, eat the meal, move your body. Whatever your inch is, take it. Third, tell one person. Text a friend. I'm taking one step today. Call your sister, post in your group chat. Witnessed obedience multiplies courage. When you say it out loud, you make it real, and you give someone else permission to take their inch too. I walk through my house, this space I've learned to live in differently. The kitchen where I've washed dishes as prayer. The couch where I've rested without shame. The table where I've opened my Bible and argued with God and eventually surrendered. Every room holds memories of inches taken, of small obediences, of daily arisings. I think about Aeneas one last time, how his story is only 3 verses long, but those 3 verses have carried me through 6 months of uncertainty. How Peter walked in, spoke the command, and Aeneas arose immediately. How everyone who saw him turned to the Lord. How his personal miracle became public testimony without him trying to make it happen. He just lived, just walked around in his healed body, just made his bed and went about his life. And people noticed. People saw God in it. That's what I'm learning to do, not to manufacture testimony, not to perform healing, not to pretend everything is fine, just to live, to arise daily, to make my bed, to take my inches, to be honest about the struggle and honest about God's presence in it, to let people see that you can be broken and held at the same time, that you can be limited and purposeful, that you can be chronically ill and spiritually whole. My phone buzzes. A text from Sarah. Bad morning. Can barely get out of bed. Scared. I text back immediately. You can do this. Just 1 inch. Just arise. Make the bed. I'm praying. God is first. He's already there in your hard morning. You're not alone. She responds. Arising. Making the bed. Thank you. And I smile. Because this is it. This is the emergence. Not being healed perfectly and riding off into the sunset, but being healed enough to help someone else take their first step, being whole enough to hold space for someone else's brokenness, being far enough along the path to guide someone who's just starting, the wounded healer. That's what I'm becoming. Someone who can say, I know that valley, and mean it. Someone who can sit in the 3:12 moments with others because I've learned that God is there. Someone who can speak arise with authority because I've heard it spoken over me and I've obeyed it even when it was hard. This is purpose. Not despite the suffering. Through it, because of it, with it. The paralysis wasn't the end of my story. It was the making of it. The valley wasn't abandonment, it was formation. The waiting wasn't wasted time, it was preparation for helping someone else wait with hope. I look at the clock on my wall. It's 9:17 a.m., just a time, just a Saturday morning. But I remember 3:12. Remember when time stopped and I thought I'd be stuck there forever. Remember the whisper, I am here in the waiting. Remember the command, rise and make. Remember the promise, Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. And I realize I'm not at 3:12 anymore. Time is moving. I'm moving. Not healed completely, but no longer paralyzed. Not fixed perfectly, but no longer stuck. Not arrived fully, but definitely arising. This is what hope looks like. Not the absence of suffering, the presence of God in it. Not the disappearance of limitation. The discovery that God's strength is made perfect in weakness. Not the end of the valley. The realization that the valley is where you learn to hear God's voice clearest. I walk to my front door, open it, step outside into morning light. The air is cool. The sky is clear. My neighbor waves from her yard. I wave back. Ordinary life. Ordinary Saturday. Ordinary body that still hurts. But nothing feels ordinary anymore. Everything feels sacred. Because I've learned to see God in the small things, in the made beds, in the taken inches, in the daily arisings. I take a breath. Deep and full. My body allows it. My lungs work. My heart beats. I am alive. I am here. I am held. And that is everything. Christ is near. Choose the inch. Tell someone. The refrain comes one final time, soft as exhale, certain as heartbeat. Rise and make. Rise and make. Rise and make. Let it echo. Let it settle into your bones. Let it become your rhythm, your liturgy, your way forward when there is no clear way. The clock will move past 3:12 eventually. Your name will be called. The test results will come. The hard season will shift. But here's what's already true, right now, before any of that. You are not alone in the waiting. Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. Present tense, active voice, divine certainty. He's not waiting for you to deserve it. He's speaking arise over you while you're still in the chair, while you're still scared, while you're still stuck. So make the bed. Take the inch. Tell someone. Let today's obedience be small and sacred. Let the inches accumulate into miles you can't see yet. Let the daily faithfulness build something you can stand on when the next storm comes. The same voice that spoke to Aeneas 2,000 years ago speaks to you today. The same power that raised him from 8 years of paralysis is available to you in your valley. The same God who was first then is first now, already in your tomorrow, already in your fear, already in your body, already making you whole. You're not stuck forever. You're stuck right now. And right now is where he meets you. Rise and make. Small steps. Strong Savior. You are held. You are seen. You are loved. You are being made whole. Arise. And Peter said unto him, Aeneas, Jesus Christ maketh thee whole. Arise and make thy bed. And he arose immediately. Acts 9:34.